for it. So, if you like, I look at it like this. I'm the one-night stand. They're the adopted parents. This is the nanny. And I'll be the same pet as the child.
Dick Clement and Ela Frenny wrote smash TV hits like Porridge, The Lady Lads, shows where the characters spoke like real people. They'd been living in California and they were keen to get back on UK TV.
I went out to Germany with Mick, a technical advisor, and talk about art imitating life. When we got to Dusseldorf Airport, Mick was arrested for charges relating to his last visit when he was on the building site. And it ended up with Martin McKean paying a fine at the airport to release Mick. And so then we had Mick back. We didn't have a penny between us. And that was extraordinary. That was the sort of thing that would have happened if you'd gone to Germany with Oz.
This is like a spy book I once read, you know. Love spy books, mate. Anyway, this bloke was trying to get through the German border on a false passport, you see. His pulse raced, and his mouth went dry as a guard scrutinised this paper.
He's an avid reader, you know, Oz.
Yeah, that's part of the reason I left home. I wouldn't have many library tickets.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Britannia, marmalade and jam, 5 Chinese crackers up your arsehole, bang, 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 bang. Oi!
Well, we said, we'll start with 3 Geordies.
Patterson, Osborne and Hope.
They were the first 3, and there were 3 distinct characters.
I was very lucky actually because I'd just done a film called The World Cup of Captain's Tale about the first ever football World Cup in 1910, and I was playing a little fullback called Dirty Holly. So when I went along to the audition, the Italian teacher was having a showing of this film that night, so I thought, oh, I've got something great to take with me. So when I went into the audition, I mentioned to them that I was in this film, and I said, I'd love you to come watch it tonight if you wanted to. So really that was my audition, I think, because they came to see me in this movie and thought I was dead right for the part, so I was dead lucky. It's one of these things when they say, you know, you're in the right place at the right time. I think that's what happened to me. I was very lucky there.
Right, get it, listen. Live over in Warren Barry and Moxie, we've got a lady guest, right? That means no swearing, no swanning around bare-arsed, no breaking wind, right? Unless it's underneath the sheets, okay? And all that applies to you, Oz, and especially to you. All right, I know how to go on, man. Like, in another thing and all, let's have all those pornographic pin-ups off your locker, right? That's not pornography on this, that's all.
Luckily, I'd just done a BBC play about a lad on a jobs creations scheme doing an archaeological dig, so it fitted well, and I'd given them a tape of it. Everybody wanted to play Oz, naturally, but my missus said, you don't know Oz, go for now.
Dearest Brenda, we are now at sea. I stood on deck and watched the coast of England disappear into the distant mist. Who knows what lies ahead?
There wasn't so much competition, but I think it had got down between me and Di badly, and I remember Di saying straight away as we were reading, you want to take him, he's a real Geordie. And just sort of talking himself out of the part, bless him.
I actually remember sitting in the anteroom for the interview, thinking, it's 5 to 4. I could sneak off without going in, and I could just tell the missus that I'd been, and they'd hated me. And I was thinking, I was just about to do a runner, and the door opened, and Barry Ford, the casting director, stuck his head out, and he said, Mr. Neil? And I said, well, it's not Neil, actually, it's Neil. Actually, it's not even Neil. Oh, never mind, that's too long a story. He said, well, would you like to come in? And I looked at the clock, and I'm here now. So, that's how it started.
I made a fatal mistake of staring at him. You don't do that up here, apparently. I stared at him because A, I couldn't understand a word he said, and secondly, there was this aggression coming out. I mean, huge aggression.
Oh. Well, everyone remembers things differently, but it was a fairly lively half an hour, and I was fairly rude. I seem to remember.
We walked in the room, and I saw him across the room, Jimmy, and I said to you, just let him be able to act just a bit, because he just looks dead right. Jimmy hadn't done a lot. He'd done a lot of things he shouldn't have done, but he hadn't done a lot of acting.
I remember him being Val McLean's brother, and we're all a bit frightened, to be honest with you, because he used to turn up to pick her up, and with a live theatre company, he used to turn up and to pick her up, and I would say, oh, Jimmy's outside, you know, he wasn't interested in the theatre or anything like that, you know, he thought it was something we were all a bit, you know, puffy, as you would say in them days. So when Jimmy turned up the audition, I thought, what's going on here? It's It's Jimmy Fallon's brother, you know, what's he doing here? I thought, anyway, they asked me to read with him. And I did, and he was absolutely brilliant. I mean, that was all. You couldn't find a better one. But it was just hilarious. And then they made us do a screen test because he never acted before. They thought it was a gamble, and it was the best gamble we could have ever done because nobody could have played that part as good as he did.
Ironic, really, you know, isn't it? Us here helping erect all this, but it was our luck what planned it in the first place.
Look this bit, man. This is one of your dormitory suburbs.
Oh, right, like a computer belt sort of thing.
Aye. Look, give that jerk a shot, will you? We're getting one, darling.
Oh! Hey, Tara! Can I ask you a turn?
And then Barry, you see, came in, and Barry had that lugubrious Birmingham accent, which Tim Spall came to hate, actually.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, we've got fairly attractive men, Mox. They've regular features and the like, you know. It's just in the skin steaks we're lacking, isn't it?
We had £8 left of our last double check. I'd been unemployed for about 4 months. And Shane said to me, what should we do? Should we get some groceries for next week or buy a bottle of champagne? This was before the audition. So I said, bollocks, let's get the champagne. So we drank the champagne. 2 days later, I got our Wiedersehen bit.
You were off in time, Barry. Probably end up the Great Tan. No one's, because I peel, I don't.
Yeah, well, you just make sure you peel over in your bed space, son.
I went to a christening. A friend of mine was a songwriter, so there were a few musos there. And actually, the christening was he and his wife and the baby, but they'd since separated. But they were friends, obviously. And she had a new boyfriend, and it was Gary. And I looked across the room, and I rang him up the next day. I said, I found Wayne. Found Wayne.
I've got an hobby. One which I pursue with great diligence and dedication. Oh, what's that? Skirt.
But the fact that Wayne was so flash contrasted with the others, that there was one guy who was confident and felt that he could pull anything that moved.
I'll invite you back to my place, but there's 6 other blokes there and there's a terrible draft under the door.
You're on him. Who is she?
That's a bit tasty, this one. Not just some bit of slush you give a full shooting to. Got a bit up there, this one.
And a bit down there, I wouldn't wonder.
Pat was a real Brummie. And one thing he never did, he never corrected me on any of my accent or anything. He was a true Brummie. He came from Brummie barge people. I think his mother was a bargee. And he was a man-mountain. He could get a massive apple. One of his tricks was, he'd go, look at that, and he'd hold an apple right by your face. Do that as night out, he'd squash it like that. He'd just squash it straight and then it would just go all in your face. It'd disappear, like there was nothing left. It would just go everywhere like a bomb. He was that strong.
Excuse me, do you speak English?
It's my mother tongue, my dear. Spoke it all my life. My name's Bomber.
Which is the best cut, Bomber?
Oh, I take that. The other one's got all the turns in it. Because of the Casbah.
Jesus.
And then Chris was cast, and Chris came in and was like, first 2 scriptures, so he said, well, I haven't got anything to say, really. So we quickly adjusted that.
Dick Clement started speaking about this character that they really weren't quite sure what to do with. And he had an idea that maybe he might have a cold and be a bit of a hypochondriac. And the only kind of in to the action was he had a dartboard.
Oh, hey! It's a dartboard! Hey, Moxie! You alright the first time, pal? This is your hut.
I'm gonna need that stuff. Given that I knew that it was 3 Geordies, a Brummie, a Cockney, and a West Country character, I thought, well, I'm fluent Scouse, so if that's any good. And he said, well, yeah, actually, we were thinking possibly Irish, but, you know, Liverpool, Ireland, yeah, give it a go.
It was important for the building site to be authentic. The director, Roger Bamford, he achieved that by ignoring the studio and filming inside a real hut. It was a mixed blessing.
My background was film, and I'd worked for the BBC quite a lot. And so I thought, why don't we build the hut outside? And I got
hold of my designer and we built this hut. Once we got in there, everybody had their own spaces, the characters came together, everybody knew where they were, and I think that's what brought everything together.
The hut.
The hut. The hut.
The hut is a character in itself.
If ever there was a definition of ambivalence, my answer would be 2 words. The hut.
It'll only be temporary, this, you know. Yeah, well, we'll start tunnelling tonight. I'll square up with the escape officer. The problem's gonna be the dogs, though. And, well, we're gonna put the sand, because... Shut up, boss! And we're gonna need false papers and civic clothes. Shut up, man, will you? Well, it's like that, isn't it? You know what I mean? Rouse, snell.
The hut seemed like a great idea at the beginning, actually being in a real hut rather than on a set.
It was pretty horrific in there. I can imagine, you only see as an audience 7 guys in there, but you can imagine you've got the sound in there, you've got the wardrobe department, you've got the makeup, you've got the camera guys. There's something like 35 people all crammed into this place.
You know, it's a place where these 7 misfits, these 7 strong personalities, each from different regions, lived together, so it was their home.
We'd get in there, everybody'd have their own cot that they'd jump on and, you know, somewhere to put your script or whatever.
Hey, I've just had this fantastic dream, man.
It became a kind of home from home for that year.
Because they didn't spend a huge amount of money on that first series. It didn't have any soundproofing and nobody bothered to clean it. And it stank, it got worse and worse and it filled up with sand and concrete.
Because it was filthy, because you'd be outside and bringing it all in, and it all ended up in the I don't think they were ever changed in 9 months.
And in the winter, it was cold as hell. But the worst thing was the sound, because you clumped round on it in big boots on the floor that didn't have any soundproofing. The planes came over Elstree Studios.
Well, we didn't write it, you know, we didn't write it in Geordie. We didn't say, I didn't know if I'm going out. We'd said, as Roger would say, I don't know when I'm going out. I have absolutely no idea. And so then the actors made it Geordie. It was really that simple.
Roger Bamford, the director, just said, use your natural accent, particularly to Jim, be as broad as you like.
Oh, don't fret, man. You've been wet nosing him since we left. He's old enough, man. Oh, bollocks.
And I think some people at Central TV were horrified, but it just worked a treat and it freed Tim Healy and I to not try and do posh Geordies, you know.
Ah, double bollocks.
So you write for those rhythms, and there's a different rhythm with Geordie or Liverpool, Birmingham, Cockney, whatever. But that's why it's a joy still writing for Britain.
Working on the side from morning to night. That's living alright. That's living alright. Then a pint with the boys and a pop of the noise. That's living alright.
I'll go home with this. Who's Lottie? I can't remember.
I thought Neville was a bit sort of wet, but I liked him. I think, yeah, I don't... if I was playing Hitler, I think I'd try and find what I empathise with, which bits of him I would understand and go with that. People endlessly asked me, where's Brenda? If they weren't saying, where's Oz, you know, it was, where's Brenda?
Cosmopolitan magazine for the woman of today.
Well, that's where you get all your fancy ideas from, isn't it?
They're not fancy, they're just interesting. Things are changing for women, you know, Neville, even on Tyneside.
Sorry, I got totally distracted there because Newcastle just scored a goal.
My God!
I had a whole day in a bed at Elstree Studios with these tough scenes between Neville and Brenda. I always look forward to them.
And you kiss the dames, but you don't ask their names. That's living alright. Walking in the sun, drinking schnapps, having fun.
Hey, Dennis, you want to be our leader? What?
Originally, you know, there was no leader in the hut, but it was Barry's suggestion that they would find a leader, and he suggested Dennis, I think, but...
I did. This group needs someone of your eloquence to lead them, you know. Barry.
I mean, he didn't plan that at all. He just wanted to get on with his job, same as everybody else, you know, but I think that the rest of the lads, they voted him to be the leader, which he had to accept because he'd been asked to, but it was always a burden for him, I think, yeah.
Where's Patterson? Dennis. It's down the barbs, I think. What do you want him for? He is your leader. So, son. It's not a role he relishes, though.
Yeah, I think he probably would have been a bit more wild, you know. Having said that, Dennis isn't me, you know. I'm quite a lot wilder than Dennis.
It's not the World Cup. or a replay of World War II. It's just meant to cement the harmony and the goodwill amongst the British and the Erics. Agreed?
Yeah.
Good.
Mind you, it might only be a darts match, but us British are still gonna try and hammer these Germans.
What for?
Because they're the bastards that bombed me granny.
Working all day for a pocket of pay and send a little back to the way. Still you keep a little here just to keep you in fear.
I was just trying to hang on by my fingernails, you know, and just watch what people were doing and try and do what they wanted me to do. I got a lot of guidance from the director, Roger, bless him, and the other actors were really patient with me.
We all coveted that part, but as soon as you heard Jim do it, you realised that Jim was something special. And for us, he was the energy source, you know, he was great. He didn't have any actorish pretensions or you know, he just cut through all the sort of nicety of acting and went for it.
The moral question you have to consider is,
What are you talking about? They've got these in England, you know. Not all these so-called respectable middle-class suburbanites. Every Saturday night, stuck round a video with a couple of loggers of lame, group sex. They won a match of the days, kaput.
Living alright. Living night on the town. Spreading it around. That's living alright. That's living alright. Working all day for a pocket of pay.
I just remember the hotel bar. We'd all be sitting around there in various states of libation, shall we say, and Ian Lafrene, not saying a lot, but just watching and listening. And of course, you know, stories, you know, from my personal past, you know, would come up. I got into a bit of trouble as a youth and so on, and bosh, all of a sudden, we find that Moxie's got a bit of a dodgy past.
Oh, I said that. And you don't even smoke.
How did that come about, Mox? I was working on this building site, you know, back in Liverpool. Bastard site manager. Had a gun for us, like, kept docking my wages for no reason. Well, one day, you know, just lost me bag. I set fire to his hut.
What, was he still in it?
Not for long, no.
I ended up really liking Moxie a lot. You know, I could spend quite a lot of time with him.
Working on the site from morning to night. That's living alright. That's living alright. Living pine little boys in a buffalo noise. That's living alright.
Well, Pat, in my eyes, was a huge star when we first met. I remember meeting him at the read-through the first day. And he was this very, very famous wrestler, you know, none of us were well known at all. But as far as Pat was concerned, he didn't really think he was a real actor, a proper actor. He had no idea how brilliant he was in this part, you know, he was Bomber. Nobody could have played Bomber.
Hold on. What am I supposed to do then, eh?
Working all day for a pocket of pay and send a little back to the way. Still you keep a little here just to keep you in fear.
He was so good. He was absolutely fantastic.
He was the real one of these sexist Cockney sort of shagger.
The part was written for him, you know, and he was that character, so he was a big part of it.
The anarchic energy that he brought and the chirpy cheekiness that he brought was wonderful.
You great pillicles. Me? You're the one that snatched the wrong kid. You're the one who's told me number 7. Oh, aye, man, but you pinched the wrong number 7, didn't you? What up you that game? I was all supposed to know. I've never set eyes on your bloody kid. Oh, look, for future reference, you must be bloody kid.
He was wonderful in the part of Wayne, and he and Barry had this, you know, relationship where Wayne took it on him to try and sort of lose Barry's virginity and introduce him to how easy it is to pick up women. I mean, Barry said, look, there's a couple of Swedish girls over there. Give them a chat-up line. Barry turns to them and he smiles, his cheesy grin, and he says,
Hello. Would you like to come back to our hut?
and that still people remember that as one of the famous cheesy lines of all time.
Living night on the town, spreading it around. That's living alright. That's living alright. Working all day for a pocket of pay.
Oh no, there's a good. Did I like Barry? The only answer to that is I loved Barry. I still love him, but I love him in the true sense of the word. Sometimes I want to eviscerate the fucking bastard.
Please, there you are.
I had to create this, what you could only call a high-class wanker, right? And Barry is quintessentially a character that can only be served by an actor if you played it for its full cheesiness.
Nice it is about my various exploits, my impending foreign travel, to probably take me to ravish her. But now, I say, Hazel, now, only within the sanctity of marriage will I countenance such behaviour.
I mean, Barry not only had a whinging Midlands accent, he was also aspirational. He was also mildly snobbish, not with the rest of the guys. I mean, they would want to go whoring and he would want to go brass rubbing.
Yeah, I took some Polaroids in, bro. I think you'll agree that they capture its historic splendour.
They'd be talking about football, and he'd be talking about how beautiful Bruges is. Oh, Bruges, have you ever been to Bruges? So he was always a sort of bit of an outcast. Wayne, Gary Holton's character, was famously called him a radish. I mean, so for years I'd be walking down the street and I was, it's Barry the radish, you know, I mean. So he's a typical, he's the typical sort of lovable irritant within a group of people. There'll still be the occasional, all right, Barry, from some wit laying a paving stone, you know, which I stopped saying, oh, very original, mate, you're the only 18th person to say that in the last 2 minutes. But I don't do that anymore. I just go, ha ha ha, mate, well done. Cheers. Glad you liked him. You know.
Working on the side, come on and night.
Oh, please. Can't wait to see the back of each other, Barry. Why didn't you was your facility down there? Hey, tell us what the turn about here. Look, man, if you see him carefully, you can know it's aye, good how? I said you were a puff Well, I'm not standing here listening to this. Oh, it turns out. I'm saying this out of friendship for you, because you helped me out when I was depressed, and I am sorry, I'm sorry, Nev, you know. And it isn't as if I'm giving it a lot of thought. No, obviously. I've tried this fucking shit. What a fucker.
Central never liked it. They thought we were just a group of bad lads at Elstree Studio.
We would treat like lepers at Elstree. We'd go into the bar at lunchtime for a drink, and everyone would treat us like builders.
Central decided amongst themselves to kill it. There was virtually no pre-publicity.
They were just going to let it die. They thought it was a turkey.
We'll stick it on a Friday night at 9 o'clock, which was not a great slot for drama.
They hated it. The executives hated it, hated the idea of it. And certainly hated some of the actors. I can vouch for that.
The extras were very odd and originally because the show hadn't been a success, so they didn't know who we were. And I remember doing a scene with Bomber. I'm pushing him along the hospital corridor. And I pat him on the shoulder and say, all right, Bum, don't worry, man, catch you later, all right, take care. And this woman looked at me and she kept looking at me like this is extra. And I didn't know the take. I said, hey, don't worry, Bum, be all right, man, catch you later, man. And she came and she said, I'm sorry, what are you saying? I said, I'm saying, I'll see you later, but I thought, what am I telling you for? She said, I can't understand a word you're saying. I said, well, it's episode 5, you will do by then, you know what I mean? And then she went off, and I saw her on the phone later, and she was on the phone to her husband, that's extra, and she said, she got the script in her hand. She said, no, darling, there aren't any stars in this, so I shan't bring the script.
It went out on a Friday night at 9 o'clock, and apart from the northeast of England, nobody down south could understand a word that was going on. It seemed very twitchy down there, and Central Television, who were putting it out, was saying, I think we'd better move this to 11 o'clock at night. And then they started looking at their rating figures, and suddenly, woof, the whole thing took off.
I just thought this was going to be a huge hit, and I feel that about everything. I would say, but 90% of the time it doesn't work out, but I always start with massive confidence, and I was thrilled because it was an expression of, the northeast where I came from. It was about working class, it was about the economy, it was very political.
It took me completely by surprise. I'll be absolutely honest. I thought to myself, who is going to really be interested in 13 hours of life on a building site in Germany? 16 million people. That's how many.
Word of mouth built it up, and by the end of the first series, it was getting almost as many viewing figures as Coronation Street. it had become a massive hit.
The only people, I believe, who hated the show when it first hit the screens 30 years ago were the landlords and landladies of every pub in the northeast, because there was nobody in.
Publicans were saying to me, "You bastard," sort of nicely. I said, "What are you talking about? My pub empties at 10:15 because everybody's going home to see how Wiedersehen put on Friday night."
I have a question for you.
Boy, want to see me Peters, do you?
When Germany is such no good places, why don't you piss off back to England?
I can't remember what I expected. I remember, again, Madeline had been in, when the boat comes in, she said, "I warn you, this is going to be popular, you know, you better get used to being recognised." But it still takes you unawares. It really knocks you back when something like that takes off.
For better or worse, we certainly put builders on the map. But it feels really good. It was strange. It was very strange to become well known, to become recognised. You know, the power of television. One day you can go to the shops, and the next. That was quite a shocker.
I wasn't surprised that people liked it because the quality of the writing was so good.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
The special effects department and the burning of the heart, I mean, they were going for the Golden TV Award. Ah, dear God, I don't know what they put in the gas, but when that hut went up, I mean, health and safety these days, right? It would never happen.
I think you ought to get out the way, you know.
Oh man, it were burning embers coming down. They blew the think-a-buggery, you know. In fact, the backdraft slammed the door shut. Roy Simper, the cameraman, was caught inside and had to be dragged out of a burning window. Complete with camera, so at least we got the footage. But, oh, dear me.
Hey, buddy, the toast again.
That really does work well for a second series. Yeah, let's burn the set down.
Another series was commissioned, and this time the plot involved a Tyneside gangster and the lads renovating a derelict manor house. Then the whole cast and crew decamped to film in sunny Spain. Things will open up.
Yeah, we thought of Spain because there was all these Brits moving down there, and it was a big property boom. And also, the series dealt with them working for a gangster. And all the British gangsters, Spain was their second home, and would indeed eventually become their future home. And someone said, you should go to this bar. And the bar's called The Office. It was where the Crims, it was their local. There was a guy sitting in a pink Angora sweater at the end of the bar, and we stood there and everyone looked at him, and then he sent the word round, who the fuck are they? And then the word came, well, we're writers, we did porridge. Ah, porridge. The word went back to the pink Angora sweater. Ah, it was Ronnie Knight. Wanted for murder.
Quite frankly, this has all been a great embarrassment to me, actually. You see, I don't believe in this unhealthy glamorisation of the criminal fraternity. No, I'm a law-abiding taxpayer, actually. I've no desire to be lumped together with the Kenny Irons and Terry Leathers of this world. I mean, behind the facade of their luxury villas and their blonde lady friends, you remember something? They are despicable people. As far as I'm concerned, so they sit back to England, serve 25 years penal servitude in Parkhurst, better for all of us.
Well, that's a point of view, of course, and very well argued.
Oh, thank you, very clever.
Terry Leather.
We filmed in Spain for 5 weeks at the height of summer, and we took the opportunity to bring our families out. And who won the old Wiedersehen pet table tennis competition? Me! So it wasn't all hard work.
afford to hang around here indefinitely. We'll not get paid, will we?
Look, Neville, I'm in charge of the checkbook. I'm in charge on this. Oh, come on, man. I know you well enough. I worked for you long enough to know that I've fucking made a mess of that, haven't I?
There might be some money in it, and you know, a few little jobs for it.
Last night, I'm happy to say, this fair maiden has agreed to be my wife.
Sorry. I couldn't believe that this was a job and I was getting paid. And I used to go into work when I wasn't even called because, and they were like, you're not even working. And I'm like, I know, but I love it so much. And just used to sit and watch the lads work. And I must just share one thing about Jimmy. And it was my first day filming in the studio with Gary Holton. I find this rather difficult, Wayne, because I don't know you. But you know, I feel so I do through Barry. Because you were his closest friend in Germany, weren't you? He said you used to do things together. You know, used to visit museums on his motorbike.
Yeah, I missed that.
I was absolutely terrified, sat having a cup of tea opposite Gary, and then there was a turnover, and then I heard this, and the set went like this and shook, and then over the top of the set was Jimmy Nail, and he just went, and thanks, action!
Well, I am now able to put a stop to all the speculation concerning the Chihuahua. I've left the Chihuahua for later.
My favourite memory was up at the manor in the second series. We were unloading a lorry.
Spall got his trousers caught on the truck. He actually hung.
And tried to stay in character, and he must have been able to hear us snorting and weeping with laughter behind the camera. It still makes me laugh thinking about it now.
They found me a role as Dennis's sister.
I've been on the trail of his Marjorie. Oh, that's not your job, that man. I'll get onto that once I'll wash the shear and that, you know.
Well, if you'd like to know, your rod is at Walker Street School, and if you could possibly get yourself together by about 4 o'clock, you just might be able to see him. I knew from the first reading of that script it was going to be a huge hit. I absolutely loved it.
You've just asked me if I've got one favourite memory. The honest answer is I haven't. There are so many great memories.
I'm just saying, buddy. I forgot my lines. I can't find the fucking fish. Sorry, I can't find the fucking fish. Well look, I'll get you, alright? Whatever time. I'll get you, whatever ring.
Keep running.
I'll get you, whatever telephone call.
Have yourselves a beer. We're with you just in a momento. Fuck me gently, Biggie.
When I first got the part, I was told that I would have to waddle around in bikinis, and this green bikini has followed me ever since. We filmed all the exterior on location in the villa at Spain, and so all the scenes you see me with the bikini and coming out with the tray of drinks, whatever, that's sort of in 85 degrees, and the rest of the cast and crew are in shorts and bikini tops.
I always wondered what our Vicky looked like unwrapped. Oh, pathetic.
When it came to do the interior scenes, the villa was actually just a shell. It was actually being built. And so we did all the interior scenes back at Central Television at Nottingham. Only when we filmed those, it was 4 or 5 months later, and it was January, and it was freezing, and all the crew are inside with the nice jumpers on and everything, and who has to come out in this bikini but moi? Who's floating?
Oh, do you think that bikini is the height of discretion? I used to use bigger plasters to cover my pimples.
Yes, well, you don't complain as a rule, do you?
Well, as a rule, I don't have 7 randy brickies running around the patio.
Oh, yeah, come here, please. He's turfing the whole 6 of you lot out. You must have put up some sort of black. What have you been up to, eh?
Well, I suppose him finding me in bed with his daughter had something to do with it.
Well, Gary passed away during the filming of the second series. It's very, very sad.
I suppose it's the difference between shock and surprise, really, you know. When we all heard that Gary sadly had died, It was a terrible shock, but not a great surprise.
When he died very suddenly, I remember going home. We heard it on the morning, we were rehearsing up in Maida Vale, and I drove home thinking, well, that's it, that's the end of the series.
And we were all totally devastated by it. Because we all had our differences, but we were a band of brothers. We were a band of brothers, and it was like losing a family member.
The terrible thing about it was that the newspapers made him out that he was a drug addict and that he was a heroin hoodlum and all this sort of thing. And that's what's so horrific about the press. That wasn't the case at all. I know he dabbled in things, you know, but I just think he was very unlucky, and he was sorely missed because he played that part brilliantly, you know. And very sad to die so young.
We'd filmed half a scene around a snooker table up in Nottingham the week before with Gary talking to us, and by 3 days later we were back on that set with me talking across the snooker table pretending Gary was still there, which was just bizarre.
But we struggled on. You know, and he was a wonderful character. He's the sort of last of a type of character you don't see anymore, was Gary. You know, and it's tragic that we lost him because he was so charming. And you know, he would have had a long career. But, you know, unfortunately, his lifestyle claimed him.
Because a girl like you has got a boyfriend, hasn't you, eh?
Perhaps.
Only perhaps, eh? Still a chance, eh?
Look, if I were you, I would not live in hope.
You're so bloody funny, eh?
Look, I've been addressing myself to the problem of accommodation. Now, there's a B&B down the road. Oh, there's a lovely motel half by mile face of green party piece make a here. Look, lads, I've been addressing myself to the problem of accommodation.
Fuck it.
Very well. Have a great time. But yeah, listen. I may be one of the world now, but never forget your roots, son. Right? You'll always be a Geordie, no matter where you go. Because this is a place what shaped you, made you what you are. Alright?
Ciao, Dad.
Auf Wiedersehen, son.
It was a relief to finish the second series, but looking back now, it had some magic moments. This monologue from Jimmy has to be one of our Wiedersehen Pet's classic scenes.
You know the reason I left this country in the first place, didn't you? Huh? I'll tell you, in a word. Margaret bloody Thatcher, that's why. But I had it all up there what she created. Bloody wasteland. Desolate. No joy, no hope, no note. Where kids get to 21 and have never done a day's work in their life. Honest men have to go out thieving to feed their families. Young babes can buy heroin in a bake shed at school. Oh dear. But I thought, nah. Gotta be getting better. Can't be as bad as what it was, can it? I was willing to give you lot the benefit of the doubt on this one, you know. But no. What happens? What happens is I've been back on my native soil for 14 minutes and I'm subjected to this. Act of fascist intimidation, because that's what it is, you know. That's what it is. And I'll be ready to be impaled with this. Fred. What do you think you're going to find up there, eh? You straight up and you can't see anything.
But after the second series, which was a massive success, I couldn't get arrested. I couldn't get employed. Everybody thought, from the professional side, that that's what I was. That I was this irritating, black country, aspirational buffoon.
Buddy, man, nobody gives a toss, man. Just take your shot, man.
One of the first jobs I got, which was about a year after, which was a classic movie, a British movie, set in the 18th century. One of the, I think it was a designer, came to me and said, you never guess what the producer just said to me. I said, no, what? She said, can he do anything other than a Birmingham accent? And he said, I said to her, A, he's from fucking London, and B, he's a fucking actor. So that's what I found myself in the invidious position for 10 months of being famous, but totally unemployed, with 3 children, being called a radish in the street from milk floats.
You've got to remember that this is to the tune of Keep Young and Beautiful, right? Right, feet, don't you fail me now, right? And I keep young and beautiful, it's beautiful, it's young and beautiful, if you wanna be loved. Young and beautiful, it's coming back, it's beautiful. It's coming back. If you wanna
If you wanna be
Loved it. Loved our Wiedersehen. They were. It was just. It was the show that everybody, obviously in the North East, was watching when we were growing up.
We were, I think it started in 82, so we were only like 7, 8 year old. But I remember that until that time, we hadn't really heard a Geordie accent on television. You know, we hadn't really heard that as kids growing up. You know, it was always people from London or somewhere else. So to hear Geordie accents, we were intrigued. And then for the characters to be so larger than life and so engaging.
And so real as well. You know, they reminded you of like my dad's mates and stuff. You know, it's exactly what it was. It was all kind of background, wasn't it? Really?
It was, yeah. And the interesting thing about Wiedersehen, I think, is it was very of its time. You know, there was a lot of people back then in the early 80s that had to leave the North East to find work. You know, we both grew up in the West End, you know, on estates, and we knew guys that were leaving to go away and make some money to come back. You know, my brother was a carpenter; he had to go away to find work. So it was.
My dad went away; he never came back. Like he went away.
But it was so of its time that we could relate to it. Everybody could relate to it because that was what was happening. That was what was happening to most people at that time. So it was so of its time. It just hit the nail on the head. I think it captured a real mood.
Loved it.
After the second series, we all went our separate ways and took on new roles. Throughout the 80s and 90s, we appeared in everything from gritty dramas to musicals, kids' TV, to big screen blockbusters. But it was a tribute concert here at Newcastle City Hall for our pal, Ronnie Johnson, stage name Sammy, that would bring us back together.
I'm looking for a bloke called Dennis Patterson. That's me. Who are you? Martin Cooper. Yeah, in 2000 we all wanted to do something for Ronnie Johnson, for Sammy Johnson, who died. We've been pals with all of us outside the show and done a couple of episodes as well.
Mr. Fraser said you might be one short for that Spanish stuff.
He's not coming! Sorry, he's not coming! Be gone!
Shut up! Sit down!
Well, he's not...
Well,
he's not coming!
Shut up!
Look, if you've had some bother with these two lads, this is not going to work out now, is it? Why not? Why not? Because we're supposed to be a team, man. That's why not. I haven't got a problem. If they've got a problem, that's their problem, mate. Hey, look, I need that job, eh? I'll do my share. I'll see you at the airport.
I was absolutely gutted because he was my best friend. And he'd just been working with Jimmy on Spender. And Jimmy came along to see me because he knew how upset I would be. Of course he was as well. And he said, well, why don't you do something for him? I said, well, what? He said, well, you could put a bench in Jesmond Deal. You could set up a fund. And I said, what, set up a fund? I said, that's a good idea. So I'll tell you what, if we did a show at the City Hall, would you come along with me and perform? And he said, yeah, of course I would.
I forgot, of course, that I'd never been on the stage before as an actor, but never mind.
So we're all up for it to do this banter. The very idea of Dick and Ian writing something for us again was really appealing. But we met up at Jimmy's house in North London and rehearsed it. And we kept saying, Jimmy in particular, I remember saying, I'd forgotten what good fun this was.
When we staged the first Son of a Sammy show in February 2000, we thought it was a one-off. Nobody anticipated that it would happen again. It was filmed for posterity with one camera and rudimentary sound, but you can still experience the fantastic reception we got.
So gave me a surprise for going home ahead of schedule. Did you tell the hook, Bill, or start with you? I thought I'd hold back on that one. Until after you've shown your tackle. Remember Marina sometimes? Yeah, man, something like it to me, think it's sexy. You know, Sean Connery's got one, you know? Sean Connery hasn't got one since Neville and Lockie on his
So I got my cue and I walked on. Oh, I'll never forget the noise. I'll never forget the noise. It actually... I pulled up sharp. It was... I think I could remember. It might have been my own heart palpitating, but I seem to remember the balcony was moving in the City Hall. It was incredible. They went absolutely bananas.
It wasn't a bad game, man. I mean, the Germans weren't so bad, was it? There were still Germans, though.
And It was a lovely moment because it put me completely at my ease. We didn't need to worry anymore. Or I didn't. I just thought, well, we're walking on clouds here. And every time we did anything, said anything, people bring the house down. It was a really, really special moment. I'll never forget it.
Really enjoyed it, and the crowd loved it. And I wrote a little note to Dick and Ian saying, thanks for the script, I wish you could have been there. And as it happened, Jimmy was in Los Angeles at the time, stopping with them writing Splendor, I think. And Tim Spall was there, doing a movie, and Frank Rodham was there, because he lives there, and they all met for dinner sometime around the same week. And Frank said, well, the rights have just reverted to me, how about doing a film of it, whatever happened to Wiedersehen? And they contacted us and we all said, yeah, we'll do that. And then the BBC grabbed it and said, would they do a series? And for some reason, we all said yes. None of us wanted to do a series, I don't think. But we all said yes, and we were back in it, and we were back on the moving train.
So I'd made a film with American Indians. I'd lived on a reservation for 9 months, and I thought that's one part of it. The Wiedersehen lads would be the cowboy element of it, but there's something missing, couldn't quite figure it out. And I was in the gym in London, and I met a guy who used to be an North Eastern MP, and he's now into property. And he said, you know that bridge, if you could get rid of it, we could, and put a proper bridge there, the land opposite, we could really develop it and make a lot of money. I thought, that's the link.
At the end of it, we had 150 pages of storyline that Frank then gave to Dick and Ian, and they felt they could make something of it. So they took what they needed from that and then brought their magic to it. And we got six episodes set in Arizona.
The BBC spent a huge amount of money on the American one. I mean, they really went to town on that because it was such a big idea, probably because, as I say, it was meant to be a movie, moving the bridge.
When I read the first batch of scripts, I could see that Dick and Ian were absolutely smack bang on form. And not only had they written great scripts, but they'd made Barry a millionaire, driving a Rolls Royce. And as we know, everybody who's watching this will know that, of course, the person who he thought was his wife's brother was in fact her lover. And they were living together, having an affair under his roof and ripping him off rotten. So you just knew that, okay, they're going to create Barry as the most successful character out of all of them. But they're going to slowly, completely destroy him in front of the cameras until he ends up in a prison, crying in his underwear. You just knew it was coming.
It was absolutely full-on blockbuster telly that, cost an awful lot of money to make. And thank goodness, it really was truly money well spent, just because of the figures that tuned in each week to watch it.
When people found out that after 15 years of Wiedersehen was coming back, they were expecting to see us all in that hut again. But it was brilliant the way Dick and Ian brought forward with the times and to use that bridge idea. It was just, what a fantastic idea to take down this brilliant bridge, In fact, people were coming from all over the country to take photographs of it because they thought it was going down in real life, And we had to put at the end of the episode, the transporter bridge is still in Middlesbrough.
Tribal council.
I chose a Red Indian, a real live Red Indian.
We prefer Native American.
Oh, right.
With all respect, what's a Native American doing in Middlesbrough?
Didn't you tell these guys?
No.
My nation wants to buy your bridge.
So it broadened its appeal because of its quality, because of the quality and the production values. They spent a lot of money on making it look good, but again, the scripts, Dick and Ian, excelled themselves. Those of us who were lucky enough to be alive all fitted back into the characters, and the rest is history.
This is Lola. We all have our favourite clips. And mine is when the chief is coming up the river on a boat. It's such an iconic shot. And it cuts the receptionist who's here.
Do you have a reservation, Mr. Stalkers?
Yes, he does. Yes, right next to the Navajos, isn't that right, Joe?
Regardless of the storyline or whatever, there would be no half measures. It would either be loved or loathed. And I could just see the critics sharpening their knives to really have a go. But it was a gamble well worth taking, and the buzz that surrounded that first series in Arizona was phenomenal.
Don't worry, lads. You obviously think it was somebody else, man. Oh, jeez. All right, on the deck! Hands outstretched now!
After the Arizona adventure, we were all keen to have another one. Digging in, it discovered that the Foreign Office hires British workers to renovate their embassies in foreign countries. Anybody fancy a trip to Cuba?
The Cuban one got into trouble because suddenly, at the last minute, we couldn't go to Cuba because the Gulf War had started. And I think somebody in the Foreign Office said, we don't want you to go to Cuba because Castro won't go along with that, which I'm sure he would have done. So we moved it at the very last minute to Dominican Republic, and the design crew did a fantastic job moving it at such short notice.
Sadly, we didn't get into Cuba. I was really looking forward to going to Cuba, but having said it, the Dominican Republic was great, and we managed to get a little tiny crew in, and they thought that they were making a documentary about having a holiday in Cuba. But what they were doing really was doing the buses and all the backdrop for us, so it shot us in the Dominican Republic, but then put all this Cuban stuff in. And by the time it was edited and put together, even people who had been to Havana in Cuba thought it was filmed in Cuba.
And we're very fond, both of us, of some of the more recent ones we did, like some of the stuff we did in Cuba. We're very fond of Neville having to pretend that he was a Manchester United supporter.
Forgive me, Sir Bobby, for I have sinned. Series 4 began its run in January 2004. The public loved the characters, the scripts were brilliant, and the show was looking great. So a Christmas special was planned, but by this time, Pat Roach was seriously ill.
It wasn't such a shock because we watched him. We knew for years before he had a death sentence on him. You know, they said he won't last 3 months, and actually he lasted 3 or 4 years and did the American one. That was great. We were out in the desert filming, and you could see Pat getting strong with the sunshine and everything and working out again. And then the Cuban one, but then he wasn't able to do the one in Thailand.
He tried, he came to the read-through. God bless him. But we lost him.
Pat passed away just as we were going to Thailand. Yeah, that was a heartbreaker. I was very good friends with Pat. I think about him every day. He was a special, special man.
And we were up in the jungle filming there when we heard that he died, and we all had we were doing a night shoot, full moon and everything, and we just sat around and remembered him that night.
Tell you what else Mama used to like? Yana. Remember Yana, Dennis?
Well, vaguely.
You don't recall any of her records, but she had enormous tits and lived somewhere near Brighton.
The Christmas special was filmed in Thailand. We had loads of adventures, and even had time for a bit of brilliant.
The art department was just, incredible. They built that village. There was nothing there when they arrived. That was just woodland, you know. So they built all these huts and stuff. And it was almost like, well, it wasn't a real thing to us. It wasn't like a set. So you really felt like you were there.
It was good to the end. And that's to do with the writing, the casting, and the determination, and the chemistry.
This is a therapeutic spa.
Not quite what I had in mind. I mean, we come all the way to Bangkok for what? A pedicure?
It's better than that, kid. You've got beautiful women what walk up and down on your back.
Do they take their shoes off there?
On behalf of the Royal Television Society and the North Eastern Border Centre, the awards for outstanding contribution to comedy and drama on British television to Dick Clement and Ian Lafrenay.
I would like to thank all the people that organised this, and mostly of all these people like you, whose affection and love and support for this series made all what we're talking about possible. Thank you so much.
I have nothing to add to that, but I will rewrite what Ian said in the morning. That's what I do.
This is what we've got.
wish me.
I think the fact that it's still popular and people are now showing it to their kids, you know, so new generations are always discovering it.
It also changed my life completely.
It's always been so strong, and I truly believe always will be.
I thought I've got a great job. I'm so lucky to have this job. And we all did.
Every day was like Christmas.
In the last scene of the final episode, Dennis orders Neville